Welcome back to the Hurry Up Offense. Well, we're down to the final 3 games of the NFL season, 2 coming this Sunday. We're here to preview Conference Championship Sunday with JT Creed Mason. My name's TJ. Guys, man, I felt like a really fun divisional round. 3 of the 4 games lived up to my expectations, but how have the last 7 days treated you guys? JT, how's the last week been?
It's been good, man. Divisional round was good. Looking forward to this weekend. I don't think that there were any fluke winners that made it on, so I'm not bummed about the matchups that we got moving forward.
And Mason, the last week treating you well?
Yeah, man. Like you said, good games last weekend. So we got some pretty good matchups to look forward to this weekend. So I'm excited.
Any initial thoughts on some of the hirings that have happened? I think since our last recording, Antonio Pierce, full-time head coach now. Brian Callahan going to Tennessee. Any thoughts on those?
I like the Antonio Pierce just keeping some in-house stuff. They've tried the outside hires that haven't worked too well. So I'm cool with them, keeping something in-house that's already got locker room buy-in. I think that's needed out there.
Also want to add on to that today, as of recording this, Tom Telesco, the former Chargers GM, hired as the Raiders general manager. I am very interested to see how that plays out. The Chargers are in cap hell, and now he stays in the same division. How weird is that? Very weird. Mason, any thoughts on those initial head coach GM hirings?
Not particularly. If I'm not mistaken, I think Harbaugh was meeting with the Chargers again today or tomorrow. I'm not sure, but I
took the words out of my mouth. I am on Harbaugh watch as we speak.
Ben Johnson's supposed to be
the Commanders today,
right? For the Commanders, yep.
Yep. And apparently the meeting today for Harbaugh is about discussing staff. So it sounds like he's pretty much accepted it, and now he's just telling him who he wants as a coordinator and who he wants as the analytics, which I was excited to hear that report. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. Really 2 games to talk about, but man, I'm really excited for this slate. Let's start with the 3:00 game. Chiefs at Baltimore. As it stands right now, Ravens favored by 3.5 at home. JT, I want to throw this to you because you've been to a couple of Ravens games over the last couple of years. And I think the broadcast did a good job noting M&T Bank, kind of an underrated home field advantage. That place gets really loud. And dude, the Texans, once they got across the 50, could not stop jumping early and getting a lot of false start penalties. So I think we saw what M&T Bank Stadium plays in the favor of the Ravens. So what do you think about this one? Do you think Baltimore covers? Do you think that home field advantage plays into a factor here? Or what are your thoughts, Chiefs Ravens?
Yeah, I love the Ravens at home. Any game that I've been to, it's pretty purple or whatever they call their color. But it's pretty heavy on the Ravens side. And I think we see a similarity this weekend, especially facing the Chiefs. It's the biggest game that the Ravens have been in quite a few years. So all the home fans that might have season tickets, whatever, they're going to think twice about reselling them and might want to be there for this one. So especially going up against Mahomes, that's a huge game.
You have the reigning Super Bowl champ coming to your place. Yeah.
It's a huge statement game. So I think it's going to be huge advantage for them to be playing at home. I do understand the line too at 3.5 towards the Ravens. I think the Ravens have just shown a more complete game on offense and defense all the way through the year. And then kind of have solidified that with last week's game as well. So 3.5, that's a tough spot. I think, I don't know, it could go 2 ways. I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens run away with it, to be honest. I want to trust Mahomes in the playoffs, and I still think he's far and away the best quarterback in the league by a huge margin. But at the same time, the Ravens roster is just so much better than the Chiefs roster, just top to bottom. So I kind of trust them to get it done.
Mason, man, let me know what you thought about the divisional game, man. I think all 3 of us were on Houston, at least because 9.5 points felt too rich. And dude, the Ravens, covered that and then some. So what were some of your thoughts going on the divisional game against Houston? And then what do you think about the Ravens hosting KC?
Yeah, going into it, I think all 3 of us were kind of agreeing that 9 points was way too much after what they did to Cleveland. But like you guys said, it wasn't close the whole way. But now you got Chiefs Ravens. JT had some good points. The Ravens have been flowing all year, but if there is one weekend where they could go down, it's this weekend. You got Mahomes coming in. They look good. I think the Ravens get it done. I just think they're the more complete team. It'll be exciting to watch. Like JT said, I think it can go either way, but give me the Ravens.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Ravens. 3.5 is tough just because you're past that field goal hook. I do want to throw this down for my conspiracy theorists out there. Sean Smith is going to be the head official, and home teams have only won 3 times in the games that he's officiated. So kind of a wild stat. I sent y'all that right before we started, and I was like, you know what? If there is a script, that's the guy to have the Ravens lose a home game so Casey can go back to the Super Bowl. Honestly, I think I'm going with the Ravens because Mike McDonald, dude, he has run into every hot offense in the league and had an answer for it. It's unbelievable. And it's like, it plays backwards to what you think. Like you would think, okay, this defense has been really good. And then they find Shanahan and Shanahan obliterates it. But it's played as the opposite for McDonald, dude. He has just schemed up so much pressure and he's done such a great job holding up that back end that I think he does the same thing here against Kansas City. It's kind of an offensive line at the tackles that I think could be better in Kansas City too. So I think that gets exploited. And also I'm monitoring Chiefs linebacker health because of Nick Bolton or Willie Gay in specific missed time. A game where you have to have linebackers marked up with Lamar Jackson. If you're getting to 3rd and 4th and 5th options there, could be a slippery slope. So, yeah, I think I'm going to take the Ravens. If you do bet the Chiefs, I think I would just move the line to, you can get it at +3. So you get a push on the field goal, but then it becomes +103. So that might be my play if I do decide to go with the Chiefs. I'll just move it back to the field goal mark. Any player props you guys got your eyes on in this one?
Not a lot of player props. I want to kind of hit on what you just said about the Ravens and their defensive scheme and how they were able to kind of shut down the Texans. Just while you were talking about that, it kind of made me think about how, like, let's say I was a DC and how I'd be preparing for the Chiefs versus the Texans. And like, kind of weirdly enough, their rosters on offense are similar. They have one receiver. They've got a tight end that's pretty solid. And then a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
It's like a copy paste of what you were worried about with the Texans offense straight into what you're worried about with the Chiefs offense, aside from the quarterback play being, more experienced, slightly better, at improvising and stuff like that. But aside from that, I mean, the game plan going into this game is going to be probably pretty similar to what they rolled into against Houston. So just something to think about.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's different basically here is Bobby Slowick, first time OC. Like, how many adjustments does a guy make at that point? Like, not saying that he's incapable of doing it, but like, I feel like that's something you get a feel for and get better at over the course of a career, which Andy Reid has gone on decades of being a play caller. So maybe there's like, if Kansas City gets off to a rough start, they can make some changes that maybe Houston just didn't. I don't know, man. Like it was insane to watch the Ravens just beat up on Houston and just the hottest team in the league. They poured a bucket of water on them. Some of the prompts I'm keeping an eye on in this one, as I mentioned, depending on the Chiefs linebacker health, I'm curious by Lamar's rushing prompts. I'm looking at it right now in DraftKings. I'm seeing it at 63.5. So that's a pretty big mark. Not loving that. Anytime touchdown score for Lamar, that's at +105. Maybe that's something you could hit here. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, JT. None of the player props here are really standing out to me.
I think the rushing touchdown or anytime touchdown for Lamar's is a solid shout at basically even money. And then I kind of like Mahomes over 25.5 rushing yards. He seems to use his legs a bit more, similar to what we see with Josh Allen in some of these bigger games where there's a lot more on the line with, say, a 3rd down conversion. So I could see 25.5. That's really not a whole lot. That's like 3 good scrambles for a first down, and he's hitting that mark. And we even saw him hit, I think he cleared that last week as well against the Bills. I don't know the stat off the top of my head. I just remember him scampering down the sideline on the left side, just kind of like, stepping.
Tiptoe. Yeah,
tiptoeing his way down the sideline for a good gain. So I'm sure he cleared 25.5 last week.
And if I'm feeling like a total degenerate, I'll probably bet some Nelson Aguilar lines. Just he feels like he comes up with the weirdest big plays. Like this man comes up with every timely play they need. Line at 16.5, pretty low. Anytime touchdown score at +500. I don't know. It could be a decent little long shot play there. Mason, any prompts that you're keeping an eye on for this game?
Yeah, you mentioned degenerate MVS. So against Buffalo, he had 2 catches, and they were both in man coverage. So does Baltimore play a lot of man coverage? Do they play more?
I mean, McDonald mixes it up really, really well. Typically using a lot more zone.
Maybe stay away from that one. Yeah.
And you kind of, before we started recording, I was looking at that because I thought, a couple of big plays last week, his line might be a little inflated. It's at 14.5, and I would love to bet the under, but that's 1 catch for MVS. So I don't know.
His reception propers or number is 1.5. So like, I would stay away from it. I was just curious about the defensive scheme from Baltimore. That's all.
That being said, MVS has 1 playoff game. He only gets 1 game where he's good, and he's had it. So maybe it's still worthwhile. I also thought about betting some under Travis Kelce, which I know that's like, you can't do that. He's the lifeline of that offense. And plus his prompt's at 62.5. So I don't really feel comfortable doing that. But dude, Roquan Smith is a dude. Like he is a guy. And if there's someone to take away Travis Kelce, that's as good a candidate you're going to get. So I'm not really loving any of these other props. I think another interesting play, Ravens 2.5 first half. Maybe I'd play that. Thinking they might get out to a hot start at home. But other than that, not a whole lot to mention here. Anything else y'all want to throw out for the first game?
Yeah. One thing to monitor. I don't know if it's confirmed or if it's going to happen, but I saw Mark Andrews has been practicing.
Yeah, I would expect him.
He's trying to bring him back. He's not on the sportsbook yet, but just something to keep an eye on. We'll see.
Yeah, he was a full participant that practiced before the game last week. So,
okay. Well,
yeah, like I would assume he's playing this week. Which, dude, like this whole like end of regular season stretch, I've been like, man, I like the Ravens a lot more if they get Mark Andrews. Man, I like the Ravens if they get Mark Andrews back. And damn, if he's not back, man, perfect timing. So, could be another player to keep an eye on if the Chiefs are thin at linebacker. Let's get on to this is the game I think I'm looking forward to a little bit most. The upstart Lions taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Mason, let me start with you. San Fran favored by 7 at home. Do the Lions keep it close, or does San Francisco cover the 7?
Yeah, it's tricky. I think I would initially lean Lions +7. I just think they've looked great, obviously in the playoffs, but throughout the season. The Niners we saw last week, they kind of itched by the Packers. Purdy didn't look good. Obviously, it was raining. So if you don't have weather issues this week, I think they could roll with it. But I don't know, man. The Detroit team's good. They look good. They've just been scoring a lot of drives. Like every time they have the ball, they don't punt. They're either putting 7 up, they're putting 3 up. So I think if they could keep that going, I think they keep it close throughout the game. So give me the +7. I think they keep the offense working, but I think they keep it close. It can go either way.
All right, JT, what do you think about this one, man? 7 points is a ton, especially in conference championship weekend. Do you think the Niners cover?
I think the Niners cover. I think that I don't know. I just think they're a better team kind of all around. And I think that, I don't know, the Lions are kind of a team that I'm just not a super believer in. I think that they're good at as a total. I think they're fine. They have some good like gadgets that are fun to watch. And I think that sometimes that inflates some of the perception of them. But they're not as necessarily consistent as what they've shown in this back stretch. And I think that we might see that kind of flip on its head a little bit against the Niners at home. Purdy, I think the weather should be straight for this weekend compared, and hopefully no rain balls for Purdy to just just float up in the air. But I think Purdy gets it going. I think a lot of the player props, if you're kind of looking to play from a betting angle, I'm just looking at the 49ers lines, all of those seem really, really low. Like all of them. Every single one of them. I just don't like the Lions defense. They cause turnovers, but they're not great, like fundamentally in like preventing yards. So I think a lot of the overs on whether it be Kittle's receiving prop, McCaffrey's receiving prop, a lot of those just feel really low to me.
JT, I swear to God, you might be looking at my bet slips right here. So I've already played these, so I am on the line for all this. This might be my lock of the week. Christian McCaffrey over 36.5 receiving yards. Yep. The Lions linebackers are great against the run. They are horrible in coverage. And likewise, George Kittle, getting that man over 59.5. This man easily could clear 80. Like, I like that a ton. We just saw Mike Evans go for 147 and fresh on my mind coming off of, I think I pitched this on the pod last week, but most receiving yards of any receiver from last weekend plus 850, cash that. So I'm greedy. I'm going back to the well with Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle in that same stat. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of yards in that first game. So I think the leading receiver comes out of this one. Could be Amon-Ra, but I think it's going to be Ayuk or Kittle who ends up leading the weekend. So those are the two guys I'm looking at for that, big time hit, hopefully. But I did also bet Ayuk over receiving yards at 8.5 because, again, like Cam Sutton, former Steeler great, just not good enough. So I love all the props, like you said, JT. And then what was the other one I have? Oh, Jahmyr Gibbs over 42.5 rushing yards. The 49ers have been a little soft against the run. And I think we saw
they're leaning Gibbs a lot. At least they did last week. We really didn't see Montgomery much.
And when I looked at the line, his rushing prop was only like 12 yards less than Montgomery. And I'm like, I fail to see where that's at. The only thing that might hurt me there is Gibbs as a receiver. Like if he gets more receiving yards and that hurts his rushing prop, then so be it.
Well, I think the rush receiving combo prop is a pretty safe play.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you can even bet that on DraftKings sometimes. I'm not sure if you can right now.
Which, speaking of price picks, just in case anybody is like not on it yet, right? You can get Christian McCaffrey over half a yard, and barring something banana happening on the first play, that's at least one leg. So I like that. I like the Jahmyr Gibbs rush receiving combo with it. Yeah, no, I'm totally here for it. It is interesting how this game feels so much better to bet from a prop standpoint in the first game. Any ideas why? I guess defense stands out in the first game, not so much here.
Yeah, what's weird is that the defense, like some of these props are low, but the over-under is at 51.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's really strange. Like the books, they usually trend, like just assumed,
It'll correlate to that total.
Yeah. But this one's kind of throwing me a little bit with the over-under being so high and some of these props being so low.
Totally. So like I said, I got Kittle, I got Ayuk, I got Gibbs rushing and CMC receiving. Any other props you guys like looking at this one?
I think Laporta's line is pretty low, but I just don't love the matchup.
Greenlaw
Fred Warner kind of, I think Greenlaw and Warner are just some dogs, so I'm not betting against them, but at the same time, that line's just so low. That's like 3 catches, and it's clear. So that one you could play. I'm not mad at that one at all.
I was so close to putting the house on Laporta's prop last week. You have no idea. I was this close to biggest bet I've ever made. That was I wish I did.
I kind of like the adjustment that the books have made with Amon-Ra last week. I know the line closed around like 92.5 for his receiving prop, and he had like I think 78, and it's dropped all the way to 84.5. So just kind of a little bit of an overcorrection there, in my opinion. So if you want to take the 84.5 for ASB, I think that's a solid play as well.
I'm actually now looking at some of the defensive props, which this could be a little like risky. I wouldn't recommend anybody putting like their life savings on this, but Eric Armstead over a quarter sack at plus 140 when the Lions are down both their starting guards feels like an opportunity where he should have a mismatch there. I also like Aleem McNeil plus over a quarter sack plus 290. I might just play that because the dude can get half a sack against Jake Brendel. He's not that good. So the value is really sticking out to me there. And I'm really interested to see. Really, I think this game comes down to, I guess, the 49ers pass rush versus the Lions offensive line. It's like the 2 best units at their respective spots in the league. So, or at least 2 of the best. So anything else you guys are looking at here? What are the passing props? So what do we got? Purdy and Goff at. Purdy at 275.5. Goff at 262.5. Who's more likely to clear that?
Probably Goff. Honestly.
Goff. Yeah.
I think so.
I would say Goff. I like Goff's longest completion over 36.5 yards. It's not too rich for my blood, and I think he gets, a little bit of a breaking coverage. Somebody trips on a double move or something like that, gives you a 37-yard or something. I think that could hit for sure.
And Baker did throw for like 350 last week. So.
Yeah, I think it'll be all right.
To say. Yeah. I'm looking at this thing on DraftKings. Purdy to throw for 250. Christian McCaffrey to have 120 all-purpose yards at plus 175. Not a bad play. Not a bad play.
It feels like great value, to be honest.
Yeah, might have to slam that here in a second. But anything else you guys want to talk about in this one? Short episode, like I said, man. It's
in this game, no. I think in the other game, some of the props I wanted to hit on real quick, just because I was kind of looking up some game logs. If you look at Lamar Jackson, so we see Lamar Jackson, and a lot of people think of him as a runner sometimes maybe a little bit of each. If you look at his game log, man, he's cleared his passing prop quite a few times this year, especially at 210.5 passing yards. Like, that's basically nothing. So if you think, how I would kind of think about it is if you think that the Chiefs are going to be able to keep up on offense and they're going to actually score some points, Lamar's going to clear this number so easily. Now, on the other hand, if you think that the Ravens do a good job kind of locking up the Chiefs, that's really the only way I see Lamar's passing prop not hitting at 210.5. I mean, that's just such a low number. And honestly, his passing touchdowns at 1.5 for plus 145 on DraftKings. Like, for that value, all he's got to do is flick 2 into the end zone. I don't know. I like that a lot.
I like it. I like it a good bit. Mason, any other plays that you see here that are standing out?
To kind of piggyback on the Lamar thing, that was actually a good take, JT, because he had 152 against the Texans, and that was we all know what happened. Like, he kind of just cruised, and he was 50, 60 yards away. So
and he ran for like 100.
Right.
So
so he
game's probably out of the way.
Yeah, he should have no problem clearing that number. I did see one for the Niners game. McCaffrey's longest rush over under 18.5. I don't know if I'm tripping, but I think he can easily break.
That's a pretty high number.
It is high, but
that's
I don't know.
A good
dog.
The Lions have been pretty solid against the run, but they also give up explosives. So when they lose a rep, it's a gash. Also, speaking on that note, then Brandon Ayuk, highest or longest reception, give me that all day. Kittle, longest reception, give me that all day. I don't know what the numbers are. I'm not looking at it right now, but if I had to venture, I'd say Ayuk's probably I don't know, JT, 22.5, 23.5, Kittle, 17.5, if I had to guess. I don't know. I can also just look it up. Let me just
check it out. I'll check it out.
Okay. If you check that out, while you're doing that, Mason, so what's taking spreads and totals and everything out of the game? Who do you think wins this weekend? What's your Super Bowl prediction?
The fact that you sent that tweet about the Chiefs.
I know, I'm getting sussed out, man. I know.
Really has me sussed out, but I'll go with my gut. Give me the Ravens and Niners Super Bowl. Obviously I was in on the Dolphins making it, but yeah, give me the Ravens and the Niners moving on, and then I'll take the Niners over the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
Solid. I like it. JT, are you going with the same prediction? You going something different here?
I'm gonna go Rams and Niners. And I'll take it's not Rams, Ravens, Niners.
Oh my
God. Yeah, not the Rams. Ravens, Niners, and then I'm gonna go Ravens to actually win it in the Super Bowl. Just kind of add to Lamar's legacy, kind of solidify him. And I guess what you think of him.
Yeah, I think I'm trending in the same direction. I'd love to see Shanahan get his ring, dude, because he's the best offensive mind in the league right now. Like, he deserves his ship. He's 0-1 as a coach. He lost one as a coordinator. Like, I feel bad for the guy. But yeah, I don't know. Mike McDonald in his bag right now. Got those longest receiving props. Ayuk 28.5. I still like the over there. And then Kittle 24.5. That one's a little tough for me. That one's a little tough pill to swallow. But Ayuk's known for his chunk plays, his explosives. Cam Sutton's not very good this year, so I think
especially if Debo's out, definitely Ayuk if Debo's not playing.
Which have you guys heard anything? The fact that we haven't heard anything to this point makes me think that this is a pretty serious injury, and he's probably done for the year. So maybe there's a Super Bowl chance, but yeah, craziness. Well, you guys ready for locks of the week? Ready to get on to when boys turn to men? All right. I have two candidates for locks of the week. I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey over receiving yards. 36.5 is too low of a number for me against that putrid pass game or pass defense from those linebackers. The alternative lock of the week play, it's a teaser, of course, my staple. 49ers down to -1, basically pick them, and then under 50.5 in the first game, Ravens Chiefs. Those are two of the best defensive coordinators doing it right now. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of points to go around. So I like the teaser with under in the first game, and then Niners down to -1. But I am going to go with Christian McCaffrey over 36.5 receiving yards. All right, JT, what's your lock of the week?
I've got three that I'm kind of tossing between. I'm going to go with Mahomes over 25.5 rushing yards.
I like that.
That's going to be my official lock. However, another one that I like is, and it correlates with it, is the longest rush over 11.5 yards. I really like that play. I think he scrambles for 12 or more yards on at least one play. And then in the same game, my other one that I was kind of tossing between was longest completion for Lamar Jackson at over 32.5 yards. Which is a low number for a quarterback that, I don't know, when you see him pass, he's oftentimes throwing to wide open receivers, just given the fact that the defense is so concerned about the run game. It's not hard for him to flick a ball, 45 yards down the field and find somebody wide open. And you can actually look up in his game log his recent long passes: 75 yards, 39 yards, 26, so that wouldn't have hit, and then 54 yards. So 3 out of the last 4, he's hit it pretty easily.
Yeah, damn, good stuff right there. I like it. 3 different plays, but you're going with game.
I'll go Mahomes over 25.5 rushing yards.
It's lower than it was last week.
Weird.
I mean, I know the linebacker situation is better in Baltimore, but that's a tendency. I definitely keep an eye on that one. All right, Mason, there's only 2 games this week, so I don't know how you're going to pull off this 3-team parlay, but let me hear it.
I need to stay away from those next year. Remind me.
No.
But I'm also taking McCaffrey receiving yards. Unfortunately, I have 38.5. Still take it.
That's why you got that one. Honestly, 38.5 is still super, super low. Yeah, I think it should be like 42.5.
Oh, yeah, easily. So I'll take that. And then I also have Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Just
it's crazy.
Feeling, I think he gets 2. So
yeah.
No, I like that a ton. And it's crazy. That feels like one of the first times I've noticed somebody point out it's down to 1.5. Almost all
right?
passing props are 2.5. Right. So what's the value at on 1.5?
It's -120, dude.
Really? Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. And Purdy's prop is at 2.5, which is hilarious. Like, Mahomes is at 1.5 and Purdy's at 2.
Purdy greater than Mahomes.
That's crazy. I guess the secondary. I don't know, but I mean, it's Mahomes. Like, he's gonna get to.
No, that's a great play.
He's gonna get his.
I'm definitely playing that. I'm slamming that.
Yeah. And I mean, like the
He's
Ravens
throwing at least 2. That's a lock of the week.
Yeah. The only thing that keeps him out of that is if he runs for 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the only thing. Because I don't even think Pacheco scores. Like I am big time, always betting Pacheco anytime touchdown. This is the week where I'm not touching it. I think the Ravens red zone run D is really, really solid. So, damn, okay. Minus 120. Solid value there. Any other plays you guys want to throw out? We've thrown out a lot of different things.
I think that's all I got that I feel confident enough in to actually give out.
For sure. All right. So we've already given out Super Bowl predictions. Let's hear early Super Bowl MVP predictions. If the Niners win, I'll say it's Brock Purdy. The league gets what they want. Mr. Relevant turns Super Bowl MVP. That's the narrative they want to spin. So I'll go with Purdy.
Lamar,
I love that.
Got to happen.
Mason.
McCaffrey.
Oh, that would be hype. To justify that trade from Carolina, that'd be fun. Well, guys, we've talked about a lot of different things, props, these 2 games, Super Bowl predictions. Let me know what you guys think about everything we talked about down below in the comment section. Who's going to the Super Bowl? Who you got coming out on top? And give us an early Super Bowl MVP prediction. I'd love to hear it. But also give us your favorite plays of the weekend. Who knows? Maybe I'll feel ballsy and tail your favorite play. Be sure to come back, I guess, in 2 weeks when we do a little bit of a Super Bowl preview episode, talk about some of our player props and all the money that we're going to just pour into Prize Picks and DK. Their stock's going way up that weekend just from the 3 of us. But until that episode in 2 weeks, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. And until then, for JT, Mason, my name's CJ. We are signing off.